The night was silent, but the ground shook under his boots. David, a lone human soldier, walked through the smoking ruins of a battlefield. His ship had crashed hours ago, and the rest of his unit was either dead or missing. The sky above was red, covered with the glow of alien fires. Broken machines lay scattered, their twisted metal groaning in the heat. David kept his rifle close, though he knew bullets would not save him now. Every echo, every crack in the distance made his heart beat faster, but then the ground trembled again. Not like an explosion, not like falling debris. It was steady, rhythmic, like footsteps. He froze. The vibration grew stronger, shaking dust from the broken walls around him. The sound was heavy, almost unnatural, like mountains moving. David crouched, hiding behind a shattered wall, holding his breath. His ears rang with each booming step. Then dash silence. He looked up, and his blood turned cold. A shadow stretched across the ground, larger than any beast he had ever seen. Slowly he raised his eyes and saw her, a Giantess. She stood taller than a tank, her figure lit by the glow of burning wreckage. Her skin shimmered pale silver, smooth like glass yet glowing faintly. Long dark hair flowed behind her shoulders, and her eyes glowing amber searched the battlefield like suns looking for prey. She was beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful, but no less a monster to him in that moment. David's first thought was simple. She's going to eat me. Her lips parted slightly, her nostrils flaring as if she could smell him in the air. David's chest tightened. He pressed his back against the wall, hoping she would not notice him. But her steps drew closer, and with each movement, the earth groaned. Her shadow fell directly over him. A massive hand reached down, fingers long and strong, wrapping around the broken wall like it was nothing more than paper. In a single motion, she pulled the rubble away, revealing him crouched below. David aimed his rifle. His hands shook. He knew it was useless, but fear drove him. Stay back. He shouted, his voice trembling. The giantess tilted her head, her glowing eyes locking onto his. She did not look like a predator about to devour flesh. No, her gaze was searching, curious, almost hungry for something else. In a second, her hand moved. Fingers bigger than his entire body closed around him. David screamed, kicking and struggling, but her grip was unbreakable. She lifted him slowly, raising him toward her enormous face. Her breath washed over him, warm and sweet, carrying a strange alien scent. He was close enough now to see the tiny golden flecks inside her eyes, close enough to see her lips curve. In the faintest smile, David's heart pounded, his body shook. He expected teeth. He expected to be dropped into a mouth full of darkness, but instead, she whispered, "Not food." Her voice was deep, echoing, yet soft like a storm speaking. Gently. "Not flesh, something greater inside you." David's throat went dry. He didn't understand. Her words rattled inside his skull, vibrating through his bones. What did she mean? Why wasn't she killing him? Her other hand lifted, one finger, brushing his chest. The simple touch nearly crushed him, yet she moved carefully, almost tenderly. She studied him like he was a rare jewel, not a meal. Human. She murmured, her eyes narrowing with strange desire. "You are the key." David's blood ran cold. The key to what? She brought him closer, until her lips hovered just inches away from him. His own reflection gleamed in her glowing amber eyes. Her voice dropped to a whisper that only he could hear. "I do not hunger for flesh." She breathed, "I hunger for your genes." David's heart stopped. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The giantess smiled faintly, as if amused by his fear. She tightened her grip just enough to remind him he could not escape. Battlefield around them burned, the smoke rising higher, the night darker than ever. Yet in her hands, David felt trapped in a cage more terrifying than death itself. She held him close, her voice echoing through his soul. "You will give me what I need, human." And with that, she turned, carrying him away into the shadows of the ruined city. David's mind screamed in terror, but deep inside, one thought refused to leave him. What does she mean by my genes? The answer, he feared, would change everything. David dangled in her grip as the giantess walked through the ruins. Each of her steps shook the earth, making the wreckage rattle like broken glass. She carried him as if he weighed nothing, her fingers curling around him like steel bars. His rifle was gone. His body trembled in her palm. He had never felt so powerless. He tried to push against her hand, but her skin felt like smooth stone, impossible to move, impossible to escape. The giantess glanced down at him, her lips curving slightly, as if amused at his useless struggle. "Stop," she said. Her voice wasn't angry. It was calm, almost gentle, but it made his chest tighten. "You'll only hurt yourself." David gritted his teeth. "Let me go." She tilted her head, studying him like a scientist would study a rare animal. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I cannot let you go." Before he could respond, she stepped into a massive chamber half buried in rubble. It looked like an ancient alien hall, carved from stone but glowing faintly with symbols across the walls. Inside, the air was warm, heavy with a strange sweet smell that made his head light. The giantess lowered him carefully onto a glowing platform in the center of the chamber. David stumbled to his feet, gasping. The platform glowed brighter under him, scanning his body with threads of golden light. "What are you doing?" he shouted, looking around in panic. The giantess crouched low, bringing her face close to him. Even kneeling, she was a mountain of flesh and beauty, her golden eyes never leaving him. "Testing," she murmured. "Confirming what I already know." The platform hummed louder. Strange alien letters appeared in the air above him, spinning slowly like stars. The giantess' eyes widened with satisfaction. "Yes, your blood sings. The match is real." David's heart hammered. "Match? What match?" She leaned closer, her lips nearly brushing him with every word. "Your genes, human. They are perfect, strong, pure. You are what my people have been searching for." David backed away, shaking his head. "You're insane." Her hand came down, blocking his escape. The warmth of her skin pressed against him, the size of her palm covering half the platform. She lowered her face again, her gaze softer now. "Not insane, desperate." Her words carried weight, and for the first time, David saw something beneath the hunger in her eyes: sorrow. "My people are dying," she said, her voice low, almost breaking. "We cannot give life anymore. Generations fade, children are never born, our blood is weak. But you—" She paused, her eyes glimmering. "You carry the spark." David's breath caught. He wanted to hate her, to curse her, to demand freedom. But her expression shook him. This wasn't just a predator. This was a queen, or maybe a prisoner herself, bound to a fate she never asked for. Still, fear ruled him. "I'm not helping you," he said, forcing the words through dry lips. "You can kill me, but I won't be your tool." The giantess didn't strike him. She didn't roar or crush him. Instead, she reached out and very carefully brushed the back of her finger against his chest. The touch was almost gentle, but the size of her fingertip made it feel overwhelming. "You are afraid," she whispered. "I can feel it." David swallowed hard, backing up, her eyes softened even more. "Do not fear me. Fear them." She turned her head toward the shadows behind her. For the first time, David noticed movement shapes in the darkness. Other giants. Figures just as tall, watching from the edges of the chamber. Their eyes glowed red, not golden like hers. Their stares carried no softness, no sorrow. Only hunger. David's blood froze. The giantess stood, her body shielding him from their gaze. She spoke in a tongue he could not understand, her voice sharp, commanding. The other giants growled low, but after a moment, they retreated into the dark again. When she turned back to him, her expression was unreadable. They want to take you, use you, break you. But I won't let them. You are mine. David's legs weakened, his mind raced. She wasn't saving him, she was claiming him. Why me? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. She bent low again, until her face filled his vision. Her lips parted, and her breath washed over him like a storm. Her eyes burned with strange longing. Because human, she said softly. Only you can give me life. Her words cut through him like a blade. His chest heaved, his hands trembling. He didn't know what terrified him more, her strength, her need, or the way her voice carried something close to desire. The chamber grew darker as the fires outside began to die. David stood trapped on the glowing platform, surrounded by shadows, his only shield the same giantess who had captured him, and yet, her final words that night echoed louder than the silence. You belong to me now. David hadn't slept. How could he? The giantess had left him on the glowing platform, but her presence never faded. Even when she sat in the shadows, her amber eyes burned like twin suns watching him. She was too close, too large, too overwhelming. He felt like a mouse caught under the gaze of a lioness. Hours passed in silence until finally she spoke. You want to know the truth, human? David's throat was dry. He almost said no, but his curiosity broke through the fear. He nodded. The giantess leaned forward, her face lowering until her eyes locked on him. My name, she said slowly, is Sereth. The word rolled like thunder in the chamber. I am the last daughter of the High Line. The blood of rulers runs in me, but bloodlines mean nothing when there are no heirs to carry them. David frowned. What are you talking about? Her lips tightened. She lifted her hand and swept it across the chamber. For a moment, the walls responded, glowing. Brighter, images appeared in the air, holograms woven from the stone itself. David's eyes widened. He saw them. Giants like her, tall and powerful, filling vast cities of silver towers. They were a mighty race, their ships soaring between worlds. But as the images shifted, the cities grew empty. Streets lay barren, cradles were untouched. One by one, the towers darkened until only silence remained. Our people, Sereth whispered, her voice heavy. Once countless, now a handful. David's chest tightened. He stared at the images of empty nurseries, the cold emptiness of an empire that had forgotten laughter. We cannot bring life anymore, she continued. Our bodies fail. Our seed withers, and those who try. Her voice cracked faintly. Almost human, they die. The images flickered, showing giants collapsing, their flesh pale and broken. David looked away, bile rising in his throat. Sereth's gaze returned to him, sharp and unblinking. But then, we discovered you, humans. Your blood carries what ours has lost. Resilience, fertility, fire. She paused, lowering her head until her breath washed over him again. You, David. You are not prey. You are salvation. David's jaw clenched. His mind raced between fear and anger. So you'll just take me? Use me like some machine? Her eyes narrowed not with cruelty, but pain. You think I want this? You think I asked to kneel before a smaller creature and beg for his life to join mine? David froze. The giantess was trembling. Her shoulders rose and fell, her chest heaving with a breath that shook the chamber. She wasn't just desperate. She was breaking inside. Others would force you, she whispered bitterly, glancing at the shadows where the red-eyed giants had watched earlier. They would cage you, drain you, but She touched her chest with a massive hand. I will not. I choose a different way. Her words confused him, and yet deep inside, something about her tone pulled at him. Still, He clenched his fists. Even if what you say is true. Why me? Out of all humans, why am I so special? Seraph's lips curved into a faint smile. Because I tested many, weak blood, broken fire. But you... She reached down, her fingertip brushing his chest. Again. He flinched but couldn't move away. You burned brightest. Strong heart. Strong will. Strong genes. David shivered. Her touch was terrifying, but her words were worse. Before he could reply, the chamber shook. Heavy steps echoed in the darkness. The red-eyed giants returned. This time, they stepped fully into the light. 4 of them, each taller than Seraph. Their faces cruel, their bodies scarred. The largest one spoke in a deep, growling tongue. David couldn't understand, but he didn't need to. Their stares said everything. They wanted him. Seraph rose to her full height, towering, defiant. Her voice thundered back in their language. The chamber walls trembled with her words. The leader snarled and stepped closer, glaring down at her, then at David. His red eyes glowed with hunger. David's blood ran cold. The giantess moved fast. She scooped him up in her hand, pressing him against her chest protectively. Her heart pounded beneath him like a war drum. Mine, she growled, her voice echoing. He is mine, the red-eyed giants roared, their anger shaking the stone. But they didn't attack. Not yet. After a tense silence, they backed away, retreating into the shadows again, their stares promising they would return. When they were gone, Seraph exhaled heavily, her shoulders slumping. She lowered David back to the platform, her eyes softer now, almost pleading. Do you see now? She whispered, My people are desperate. They will not stop. If you refuse me, they will take you anyway. And you will not survive them. David's heart pounded. He felt trapped in a nightmare, caught between monsters. But the way she looked at him like he was more than a prisoner, more than a tool, shook him. Seraph leaned close, her voice low, her breath warm. Choose me, David, not them. I will protect you. I will keep you safe. And in return, her amber eyes burned with a strange light. You will give me life. David sat on the glowing platform, his body tense, his mind racing. He could still feel her words echoing inside him. Choose me, David, not them. The giantess Seraph hadn't moved far. She sat against the wall of the chamber, her knees drawn up, her enormous form casting a shadow across him. Her amber eyes glowed softly in the dim light, watching him, always watching. Hours crawled by. She didn't speak, and neither did he. But he felt her presence pressing on him like a weight. Finally, David broke the silence. If you're really protecting me, why do I still feel like a prisoner? Her lips curved faintly, not quite. A smile, because you are. The honesty struck him harder than any threat. He clenched his fists. Then stop pretending you're different from the others. Seraph leaned forward, her long hair spilling over her shoulders like a curtain of night. I am different, she said firmly. They want your body, I want. She paused, her eyes flickering as if the next word was difficult. You. David's throat tightened. He shook his head, refusing to believe her. You don't know me. You only see what you want to see. Her eyes narrowed, but not with anger. She lowered her face closer, so close he could feel the warmth of her breath. And yet, she whispered, I see more than you think. David's heart hammered. He wanted to step back, but the platform felt like it was holding him in place. Her presence pulled him in, terrifying yet magnetic. Seraph extended a hand, slowly, carefully, until her massive palm hovered open beside him. Climb on, she said softly. David stared at her. Why? Because you don't trust me, she answered simply. And I want to show you why you should. Every instinct told him it was a trap. But staying still wasn't safety either. With trembling steps, he climbed onto her palm. Her skin was warm, smoother than stone but firmer than flesh. The moment he stood there, her fingers curled slightly around him. Not crushing dash, protecting dot, she lifted him, bringing him to her chest. Her heart thundered beneath the thin fabric of her armor, faster than before. "Do you hear it?" she asked. Doc David frowned. "Hear what?" "My fear," she said quietly. He froze. Of all the things he expected her to say, that wasn't one of them. Sarath's eyes softened. "I fear them. I fear my people dying. I fear myself failing. But more than that, I fear you hating me." Her words shook him. This towering being, strong enough to crush ships with her hands, was afraid of him. Before he could answer, a low rumble echoed through the chamber. The red-eyed giants again. Sarath's body stiffened. She rose to her feet, cradling him close. Against her chest, David's breath caught as the shadows thickened at the edges of the hall. But the giants didn't enter this time. They only watched. Their glowing eyes burned with hunger, their whispers curling like snakes in the dark. Sarath turned, glaring at them. Her voice was low but dangerous. "He is under my protection." The whispers stopped. Slowly, the giants faded back into the dark. Only then did Sarath sit again, lowering David carefully to the ground. Her hand lingered near him, as if unwilling to let him go completely. "You see?" she said, her voice softer now. "They wait for me to fail. For you to slip away. If you are mine, they cannot touch you." David's chest tightened. He hated the way she said mine. Yet a part of him, a part he didn't want to admit, felt safer when she said it. He stepped back, shaking his head. "You're asking me to trust the one who captured me. Do you realize how insane that sounds?" Her lips curved again, faint amusement glimmering in her eyes. "Yes, but tell me, David, is it more insane than trusting those who would rip you apart?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. The silence stretched, heavy with tension. Sarath leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that brushed his skin like a touch. "You fear me, but your body listens differently. I can hear it. I can feel it." David's face burned. "Stay away from me." Her eyes glowed brighter, catching every flicker of his fear and defiance. "No," she said, almost like a vow. "I will stay close until you see I am not your enemy." The chamber grew colder as the fires outside burned low. David curled his hands into fists, torn between anger and something he refused to name. And as he looked up at the giantess towering, terrifying, and yet strangely vulnerable, he realized with dread that she was right about one thing. She wasn't his enemy. But she wasn't safe, either. David couldn't breathe in the chamber anymore. Every hour with her, every look, every word was pulling him into a web he didn't want to fall into. She was a captor, no matter how soft her voice sounded. He had to get out. When Sarath finally closed her eyes, leaning against the wall, her chest rising in heavy breaths, David saw his chance. The platform beneath him had dimmed, the glowing runes fading as if asleep. Slowly, silently, he stepped down from it. Her massive form loomed in the corner, but she didn't move. The chamber doors were carved from black stone, cracked with age. If he could just reach them. David's heart raced as he slipped into the shadows. His boots made almost no sound, though every step felt like thunder to him. He pressed against the wall, moving carefully. When he reached the door, he ran his hands along the edges. Their thin lines where it could open. He pushed, pulled nothing. Then he saw a console nearby, glowing faintly. He slammed his fist against it. The stone rumbled. The doors creaked open, just enough for him to squeeze through. The air outside hit him like ice. The hallway stretched long and empty, carved with alien symbols. He ran. His lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He ran until the echoes of his footsteps sounded like an army behind him. Then dash boomed. The walls shook. The air trembled. Behind him, the heavy footsteps returned. Say Wrath. Her voice rolled down the hall. low and filled with something he didn't expect: pain. "David!" He pushed harder, sprinting through the twisting corridors. Torches burned with strange blue fire, lighting his path. He turned corner after corner, desperate for freedom. Finally, he found it an opening. A crack of moonlight spilled. Through a broken wall, freedom, he rushed forward. The gap was narrow, but big enough for him to climb through. He scrambled up the rubble, cutting his hands on jagged stone. His heart soared. He could see the night sky. He could almost taste the cold air of escape. Then the shadow fell over him. A massive hand slammed down against the wall above him, blocking his path. Dust rained over him as Sereth crouched low, her amber eyes glowing with sorrow and fury. "David!" Spun, rage burning in his chest. "Let me go," he shouted. "I'm not your prisoner." Her hand trembled. She didn't grab him right away. She just looked at him, her lips pressed tight. "You think you'll survive out there?" she said. Softly, "The red eyes are waiting. They smell you already. The moment you step outside, they'll tear you apart." David's voice cracked with anger. "Then maybe that's better than being yours." For the first time, Sereth flinched. Her giant body stilled, her breath catching. She stared at him, as if his words had cut deeper than any weapon could. "Is that truly what you want?" she asked quietly. Her voice was trembling. David's chest heaved. He wanted to scream yes. He wanted to tell her she was a monster, that he would rather die free than live as her possession. But when he looked up at her, saw her giant hand shaking, her glowing eyes filled with something dangerously close to tears, his throat closed. This wasn't the face of a predator. This was someone begging not to be abandoned. Sereth lowered her head, her hair falling like a dark curtain around him. "I could have crushed you," she whispered. "I could have forced you, but I didn't. I kept you safe, and still you run." David swallowed hard, torn between fury and guilt. "You took me. You call me yours. That isn't safety." She exhaled sharply, the heat of her breath washing over him. Then slowly she pressed her hand flat against the rubble beside him. Her massive body leaned forward until her chest pressed against the wall. And then, to his shock, she lowered her head and bowed, a giantess bowing to a man no bigger than her finger. David's breath caught. Her voice broke as she spoke. "If I am your captor, then I kneel as one. But if you let me, I will be your shield, your home, your choice." The hall fell silent, the only sound the echo of her heartbeat, fast and uneven. David stood frozen, torn apart inside. Every instinct screamed to keep running. Yet the sight of her towering, terrifying Sereth bent low in humility made his legs refuse to move. Behind them, the faint growls of the red-eyed giants echoed through the ruins closer than ever. David turned his head toward the gap in the wall, the cold air calling to him. Then he looked back at Sereth, still kneeling, her amber eyes glistening in the torchlight. Then for the first time he realized escape wasn't the only choice. The ruins groaned with distant growls. Somewhere beyond the cracked walls, the red-eyed giants moved like predators in the dark. Their whispers echoed, cruel and sharp, promising only death. David stood frozen at the broken gap, the cold night wind on his face. Just a few steps and he would be outside, free, but in that freedom waited monsters out behind him. Sereth knelt. The giantess who had captured him shielded him and begged him. Her enormous frame bowed low, her forehead touching the cracked floor, her glowing amber eyes dim with something he never thought he'd see in her humility. "You have the power," she whispered, her voice trembling like stone about to break. "If you command me to release you, I will, even if it means your death." David's fists clenched. He hated her for putting him here, hated her for calling him hers. Yet something inside him twisted as he saw her kneeling. A being who could crush him with one finger was humbling herself before him. Why? he asked sharply. His voice cracked with confusion and anger. Why protect me? Why bow? She lifted her head slightly, enough for him to see the fire in her eyes. Because you are not a tool to me. Not flesh, not just blood. You are the only choice left to my people. But to me, her voice broke. She touched her chest with a massive hand. To me, you are more than that. You are the one who can end my fear. The words stabbed into him. The walls shook again. A guttural roar filled the chamber as a red-eyed giant slammed its massive hand against the outer wall. Cracks spread like lightning through the stone. They were running out of time. Sereth rose to her full height, towering like a living wall. Between David and the crumbling entrance, her voice thundered in her alien tongue, warning the others away. They snarled back, their shadows stretching long and monstrous. David's heart pounded. He had seconds to decide. Run into the night and likely die. Or stay in her palm, in her cage, and gamble that she truly meant what she said. Sereth looked down at him, her amber eyes glowing with fire and sorrow. Decide, David. I cannot force you. If you choose freedom, the door is yours. If you choose me... She extended her hand, palm open, waiting. I will fight until my last breath to keep you safe. The choice tore him apart. His chest rose and fell as the growls outside grew louder, claws scraping against stone. He looked at the opening again, at the promise of freedom. But his mind replayed the way the red-eyed giants had stared at him, like he was meat, and then he looked back at Sereth, at the giantess who had bowed, who had shielded him, who had whispered fear into the dark when she thought he wasn't listening. His lips trembled. He hated this. He hated needing her. But survival was never clean. The wall exploded inward. The red-eyed giants burst through, their massive forms filling the chamber with rage and hunger. Their eyes locked on David, glowing crimson. David's instincts screamed. He stumbled back, his gaze flicking between the gap to freedom and Sereth's waiting hand. He made his choice. With a shout, he leapt not through the gap, but into Sereth's palm. Her fingers closed around him instantly, not crushing, but shielding. Her lips curved in a fierce smile, her voice rising in a roar that shook the chamber. He is mine! The red-eyed giants howled in fury, rushing forward. Sereth's body glowed faintly, strange golden light tracing the lines of her skin. She stepped back, raising her other hand, and with a force that cracked the ground, she struck the first attacker. The clash shook the ruins. Stone shattered. Dust filled the air. Sereth fought like a storm, her body moving with strength and desperation, while David clung to her hand, every heartbeat telling him one thing: his choice was sealed. Through the chaos, Sereth lowered her head close to him, whispering between roars, "You chose me. I will not let you regret it." David's breath caught. Fear and anger still boiled inside him, but beneath it all, something else stirred. A dangerous thought he couldn't push away. Maybe, just maybe, choosing her hadn't been madness. The chamber shook like the heart of a volcano. Sereth's roar thundered as she swung her massive arm, smashing one red-eyed giant back into the crumbling wall. The ground split under their weight, dust filling the air. David clung to her hand, his body pressed against her warm skin as she shielded him. Every strike she gave, every blow she took, rattled his bones. He had chosen her, and now there was no turning back. Two more red-eyed giants rushed in, their crimson eyes burning with hunger. They clawed at Sereth, their snarls echoing like beasts. She fought back with savage strength, her body glowing with streaks of golden light, as if her very blood was waking something ancient. David shouted over the chaos, "Sereth, you'll be killed." She looked at him through the storm, her eyes blazing. "Not while you live." Her words seared into him like fire. One of the giant's claws slashed across her shoulder. She staggered, blood shimmering silver in the torchlight. David's heart pounded. She was strong, but not invincible. If she fell, he was finished. Something snapped inside him. He couldn't just cling like a child. He grabbed a jagged shard of alien metal from the rubble below and, with reckless courage, hurled it at the nearest attacker. It bounced harmlessly against the giant's chest, but the act drew its attention. The red-eyed monster turned, snarling, its gaze locking onto David. "No," Sareth bellowed. In one motion, she snatched him tighter against her chest, her massive heartbeat slamming against his ears. She spun, her glowing fist striking the creature's skull with a crack like thunder. The giant fell, stone collapsing under its weight. Only one remained, larger than the rest. It advanced slowly, eyes locked not on Sareth, but on David. Sareth staggered, her breathing heavy, blood staining her silver skin. She tightened her grip around him, whispering hoarsely, "Stay behind my heart." David's chest tightened. He could feel it, her heart pounding, faster, weaker. She was bleeding for him, fighting for him. And she would die for him. The last red-eyed giant roared, lunging forward. Sareth roared back, the chamber trembling. Golden light exploded across. Her body, brighter, fiercer than before. She slammed into the giant, their clash shaking the ruins apart. Stone shattered, torches died, darkness swallowed the chamber. When the dust finally settled, silence returned. The red-eyed giants were gone. Only broken stone and silence remained. Sareth knelt, her body trembling, her breaths ragged. Her blood dripped across the floor, but her hand still cupped David close, safe and unbroken. David looked up at her face, at the exhaustion in her eyes, and something inside him cracked. She wasn't just a captor anymore. She wasn't just a monster. She was a warrior who had risked everything for him. Slowly, he touched her massive finger with his small hand. "You kept your word," he said quietly, her lips curved faintly. A tired smile breaking through. "I told you, human. You would not regret choosing me." For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, tiny human and giantess, caught between two worlds, yet bound by something neither fully understood. David's voice shook as he asked, "What happens now?" Sareth's eyes glimmered with fire, but also sadness. "Now, we survive, together, but survival is not enough." She lifted her head, her gaze turning toward the dark halls beyond. "The red eyes will return. And others will come. They will not stop until they take you." David swallowed hard. The thought chilled him, but her words carried something else, to a promise. She looked back at him, her eyes softer now. "I will protect you, not because you are mine, but because you are you." David's chest tightened. For the first time, he believed her. Sareth rose slowly, her body battered but unbroken. She carried him out of the ruined chamber, into the cold night where alien stars burned above. The battlefield was silent now, but the galaxy beyond felt alive, watching. Waiting. As they walked, David whispered, "Sareth, what are you going to do with me?" Her massive fingers curled gently around him, holding him close against her heart. She looked out at the horizon, her lips curving into a faint, dangerous smile. "Not with you," she corrected softly. "With U.S." The night wind carried her words into the stars, and in that moment, David realized the truth. He wasn't just her prisoner anymore. He wasn't just her salvation. He was her partner, her shield, her choice, as much as she was his. Deep inside, he also knew this was only the beginning, because somewhere in the dark, the red-eyed giants were not finished.